In today's video, I'll walk you through the process of transforming plain Leatherette sheets into stunning patches for caps and other stuff by using our Thunderbolt laser. We love our Thunderbolt. It engraves Leatherette beautifully, and it makes producing custom caps a pretty easy process. This process all starts with the design, so let me show you what we do. We have our logo imported into Lightburn. The logo is great as it is for engraving, but we need to create an offset to cut out the shape. On the left-hand side of the screen, you will see an Offset Shapes button that looks like this. Make sure your logo is selected, and then when you click that button, you have some options. For this, I am choosing outward for my direction, and I also want round for my corner style. And I also want to turn on these two buttons, Outer Shapes and Optimize. Now, depending on the size of your logo, the offset distance will need to change. You just kind of have to play around with that. For me, 0.1 works. Click OK, and it creates the offset. Now, click off of your design to deselect it. And now just click on the outer edge to select just your offset. Make it a different color. I'm choosing red. My red is always set to line, but if yours doesn't look like this, you might need to toggle between fill and line on your layers panel. Now with the offset selected, you can see where the red cut lines would be. I personally only want the outer shape cut and not these inside cut lines, so I can get rid of them. Just ungroup that offset and click on the lines that you want to remove. Then press delete. Since this is going to be a cap patch, I'm going to select everything and size this whole thing to 2 inches tall. Now that we have the logo with the offset, you could use this same basic principle to create wooden keychains, magnets, signs, and more. But we are going to use this Leatherette sheet and create a custom patch. This Leatherette comes from JDS Industries. I will go ahead and leave a link to them down in the description below. They have several colors and sizes available, as well as the option of with and without adhesive on the back. This particular sheet has a layer of 3M adhesive on the back, which will allow us to adhere this to items such as books and Bibles, as well as heat press it onto something like a cap. Let's load this into the Thunderbolt. The sheets that we have are 12 inches by 18 inches, which mean they pretty much fill the bed of this laser. If we're going to be using a full sheet, we normally just tape the Leatherette to the edges of the bed, but for smaller pieces, we usually use these laser pins to hold it down to the bed. With the Leatherette in the machine, I'm going to use the autofocus feature on the bolt. The autofocus will raise the bed until it touches the sensor and then lower it back down to where it needs to be for correct focus. I'm also going to move the laser head to the top left of my Leatherette piece. I'm choosing this point for my starting point of my project. And I do this by pressing the origin button on the controller to set the origin point. So now let's talk about laser settings. For this particular color of Leatherette, which is called Rawhide, here are the settings that we use. The black layer is set to fill and will be our engraving area. For this engraving, we use 800 millimeters per second, 20% power, and we have a line interval set to 0.08. The red layer is set to line, and it'll be our cut layer. To cut this Leatherette, we use 20 millimeters per second and 50% power. For the Leatherette that engraves to like a metallic color, you'll want to play around with those settings and adjust that. There is one more thing that I want to check. I want this design to engrave first and then cut out. If your engrave layer is not at the top of the list in the layers panel, then click on the triangle so you can reorder your layers to get the engrave first. With our settings all put into Lightburn, now we're ready to send it to the laser. Since I set an origin on the laser and I want it to start there, I make sure that my start from settings is set to user origin in Lightburn. Then I make sure that I have the top left radial button selected for the job origin. This will tell it what part of my design that I want to be started at that origin position. And you can see that reflected by the green square that is now in the top left corner of my design. Now we just need to hit the send button. With the file on the laser, the focus and the origin is set. Now all we have to do is press on start and let it go. As you can see, this engraves pretty quickly. This is real-time speed that you're seeing. Once it engraves, then it starts the cutting process. This will make a patch pretty quickly. In fact, it only took 1 minute and 17 seconds to engrave and cut this out. And that's pretty quick. Once it is finished cutting, we do normally clean this. You can use something like LA Awesome or even Dawn Power Wash. We spray a little on a cloth and wipe away any residue that might be left from the laser. But we're not finished with this patch. Let's get it on a cap. In my next video, we're going to press this patch onto a cap. I'll tell you which heat press that I use, the settings that I use, and I'll also tell you where we get our caps from. So you don't want to miss that. Thanks for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And until next time, God bless.